So this is the Babylock Sashiko machine, which I know you're all quite interested in. I thought I'd do a quick video on, first of all, what it looks like, and secondly, how it stitches, and actually how to thread the bobbin up, because that's the most important thing. You do have thread at the top here, it's just there ready in case I need to thread a new bobbin up, but it doesn't actually thread through the machine like a regular sewing machine. In fact, forget everything that you know about sewing machines. Treat this as a brand new product. So just be aware that I'm nowhere affiliated to Babylock. I just so happen to love this machine. So on the on the right hand side here, you get the stitch length and the space length buttons here. So if you look up here, this is the space between the stitches, and you can adjust it by going larger or smaller. And regularly I've been using this at about 2.5 and it works fine. And the stitch length is actually the same as well, but you could adjust that also just to make a different look. If we come right over here to the far left hand side, you actually got the positioning button here, which is this here, and depending on where you press, how you press, when you press, will depend on what this machine will do. But it's generally about making a stitch or making a space or pivoting, whatever you require. When you look at the actual foot itself, this is exclusive to this machine. Your regular feet on any other sewing machine will not fit this, and it doesn't behave like a sewing machine. So again, just forget everything you know about sewing machines. The needle here, yes, it is a needle, but it's more like a barb needle. It's a hook-up needle, and then beside that you've actually got the hook that actually catches the thread, and we'll see that in greater detail very, very shortly. So to get going, I'm not going to wind a bobbin up because there's one already in the machine, but I'm going to show you first of all what the stitches look like if we keep it at 2.5 for the stitch length and 2.5 for the space. Then we'll adjust it. We'll do some top stitching so you can see what it looks like as well. We'll do some fancy stitching on some applique, and then I'll show you how to thread that bobbin up because it's quite intriguing. So I'll just show you what the stitch looks like with the 2.5 setting. So that's the space between the stitches and the stitch length itself. Now hopefully you'll be able to see what this machine looks like when it's stitching. It's nothing like a sewing machine at all. It's hooking that, see the hook there? It's catching that thread as it comes up and makes that fabulous double stitch on the top there. I'm doing this really slowly, but of course you can do this a lot faster. So that is the 2.5. Now, as soon as I take my foot off the foot pedal, it stops. It stops with the needle up and with the hook in its correct position as well. I can pivot this if I want to, and I can use the positioning button at the front to drop my needle down, and the next one it'll do is a stitch. So I can, if I want to, turn this around, do one stitch with my foot control, use the button again to lift it up, and then I can turn or I can pivot again. So it has that option if you want to. Generally I tend to do this sort of freestyle, and I'll just move it around myself. So then all I'm going to do is line my piece up again and start stitching again. And if you get this position correctly onto your fabric, you'll get two beautiful parallel lines of stitching, which is gorgeous. So I can speed up a little bit, or I can slow down and be in full control. So when you look at that, although that's not quite parallel, it still gives you a beautiful double row stitching. So let's just show you what it looks like when we've actually lengthened the stitch and lengthened the space. And so that's the dial at the front that I showed you at the beginning. So don't forget, the only thread you've got is the thread that's coming up from the bobbin, and we'll go through that shortly. So if I'm going to do now a stitch length of 5 and a space of 5, and that'll give you a completely different look because you're getting a really big stitch. And again, I can speed up. I just want to show you what that looks like. So that's quite different to how that first row of stitching, you can see that we've got the really small one at the top and the really large one there. If I come back on myself again So don't forget, all the time underneath here you've got that bobbin thread, so you can just tug it a little bit just to loosen that off. Assuming you've got the presser foot up just like a regular machine, that loosens the tension a little bit. So then I'm going to actually make the space between the stitches at that back to 2.5 again, just to see what that looks like. And there you have a tiny little space but a really big stitch. So I'll just speed up a wee bit. There we go. And as I say, as soon as I take my foot off the control, it stops. So there, that's the difference between the two, is that you've got the large space and the first row here, and then the small space between. And you can do the opposite. So if I come back on myself again, and I can do 5 on the space and 2.5 on the stitch length, let's see what that looks like. So you've got a various amount of options here. You've also got dials on the side of the machine that allows you to sew around curves easily. And you've also got foot pressure adjustment if you want to stitch thicker or thinner fabrics. So if I just pull that, I'm going to pull that bobbin thread a little bit and show you what that looks like. There's a few variations of what you can do. So how would you put that into practice then? Well, let's just see what we can do. So in this example, what I've done is I've put a zip in using my regular machine, and I'm just using my Sashiko machine to do the top stitching. It looks awesome. So with the thread caught in the little holder here, we're now ready to stitch. I've got my stitch length and width on about 3.5. So we'll just then do the top stitching across the top of that zip. We can go a little bit faster if we want to, and if you get this all lined up, those stitches will be all parallel to each other. And you can go all the way along your project. When you come to the actual zip pull itself, you can obviously put the needle down and pivot. So you lift your presser foot up and you can wriggle your zip past that. It just needs a little bit of a wriggle. If you're having difficulty like I am now, then you can lift that needle up. Let's put the foot down. Lift it up, then bring your foot up, and then you've got a little bit more flexibility of getting that zip pull past. But try not to lose your space of where you were, the place. And then you can start stitching again. So then you can go all the way along your project. Now it doesn't have a zipper foot, you're using the same foot all the time. But it allows you to, so it's quite a small foot, so it allows you to do that top stitching quite beautifully. And there we are, so that's that bit done. There's other things you can do. Don't forget to pop your thread into the holder there. So let's just have a quick look at that, see what it looks like. So there's the top stitching with the zip already in place, and I think that looks absolutely lovely and just finishes things off beautifully. So you can do cuffs and collars and fronts of jackets and all that sort of thing. Now with applique, you've got a similar sort of way of attaching your applique down using the Sashiko machine. So again, I'm just going to do the stitch length of 2.5 and the space of 2.5, which I found to be a really nice size stitch for applique. And again, you can follow the lines. You can use the dials on the side to help you go round curves, but personally I haven't found that necessary. So obviously you can pivot if you want to with the needle down. I tend to do this myself, and you get used to knowing where to actually place your fabric to get the optimum amount. And you can always bring your needle down and just test, and if you think that's too big a gap, then just pull it back in place, and you're just going to then go around your design. And you can keep on going if you feel brave enough, and then you can follow the design all the way around. And like I say, it always ends up with the hook and the needle in that upright position. So if we look at how that looks on your applique, let's just pull that out. Let's get my scissors at the ready. There we go. You can see how beautiful that looks as a top stitch to applique. And if you're wondering what it looks like on the back, Let me show you the example we did just a little while ago with the black fabric. So if I get my threads out of the way. So these stitches here, that's not a stitch, that's where we jumped from one piece to the other. But you can see what the back looks like. So that's your back and that is your front. So you've got two different looks there. I mean, I'm not at all interested in what that looks like on the back, but I am interested on what it looks like on the front. So the next stage is, how do you thread your machine? So how do we thread this machine up? You know already that it's just the bobbin that you've got. You don't have any top thread. So the first thing I need to do to make this safe to open the machine up is to press the positioning button until the green light is on the bobbin picture on the front of your machine. And you'll see that when you go to do that yourself. So then I can open up the case. And that's what it looks like. It looks pretty much like any standard sewing machine, but it isn't, like I keep saying. But it's easy to do once you get into the knack, and there is a knack of doing this. So you've got a lever like you normally have on a regular sewing machine, so I'm just going to lift that lever and take the bobbin casing out, and the bobbin is inside. So let's just take that bobbin out if I can. Get some sharp scissors on it. There we go. So there's our bobbin. It's got a little bit of thread on it, so we're fine with that. Now the machine actually likes a thick thread, and I've got a 100% cotton thread on there, so it's nice and thick. So let's have a look at this bobbin actual case itself. It's quite different. So it looks the same here, but when you look at the top, it has like a little fluffy bit. That isn't thread that's been caught in it, so don't try to pull that out. You need that. It helps with the flow of the thread going through the mechanism, and it was a later addition to this machine because they decided that's exactly what it needed. And then at the bottom here you've got two little prongs sticking out which have eyes going through it, and as we thread the machine you'll see why you need all these bits and bobs. So we'll just put the casing down for a moment. So here we come to our bobbin of thread. Now when you go to thread the bobbin case up on the machine, you need about 6 to 8 inch length of thread. That's really important, and you'll see why as we go through. Also snip off the end of your thread so you've got a nice flat part to your thread here. It helps with threading through those two eyes that are on the actual bobbin case itself. So you're just going to thread that up as normal, catching it through the regular loops that you would normally do in your regular sewing machine, but this is the different part. So you're taking the end of the thread, you've got the back of the bobbin there in its case, and you're going to thread through from the back to the front through both of those loops. And at some time, if you ever take your thread out or your bobbin out again, you'll find that only one of those is threaded, and that's absolutely correct. But when we start off, it's always two. So then open the lever up like you normally would with your regular sewing machine, and the little fluffy part sits at the top there, and that goes at about a 1 o'clock angle into the bobbin mechanism in there. So if I put it in at a 1 o'clock angle, I'm going to twist it sort of anti-clockwise, so those little prongs at the bottom there slip into a groove which is just down here, and you'll be able to see that actually it has a little yellow dot. So if I bring in a pokey tool, if we look here, there's the yellow dot, and that's where the grooves, that's where the prongs need to sit into that groove. So if I put this in at about a 1 o'clock angle, give it a twist, and you'll hear it lock. It has a definite click to it. So the next thing we need to do is to actually get this thread up through the hole at the top of the machine here. So you're going to hand crank this machine twice towards you. So that's 1 and that's 2, and it brings up your thread. Now you don't want any of that thread attached to the hook or the needle in any way. So you're just going to literally undo all of that and have that thread just coming through the hole. You're going to hold on to your thread here. It's really important that you hold on to this, and you're going to hand crank another time, turning the flywheel towards you, and I'm holding on to that thread. And as I do, the little arm swings out and catches hold of the thread there. It's got a hook and it's got a wiry bit there, and it all hooks on, and you can feel it, it's grabbed it. While the door is open and that arm is actually in the out position, I want you to hook your thread over the little catch area there and close your door, and just hold that tight. That's exactly how you should always start your stitching, with that thread caught into that groove there. And now you're ready to go. So just pop your fabric underneath, and then you're ready to stitch. We've still got it on 2.5 and 2.5, so let's see how we get on. And then once you've started stitching, you can release this thread. It doesn't matter anymore, you can just release it. So there we are. So that's the Babylock Sashiko machine. It is just a wonderful toy, tool, gadget that you may or may not need in your craft room. I certainly do, but it took me 2 years to decide that this was one of those extra tools that I needed. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and have fun if you get one.